You wake up one morning, check the news, and see a headline that says, "National debt hits record high. Trillions of dollars, trillions of pounds." You pause and think, wait, who did we borrow all this money from? How is every country in debt at the same time? If everyone owes money, then who is the lender? This question has confused millions of people. And once you understand the answer, you'll never look at money, taxes, or governments the same way again. Let's start with something familiar. Think about an average family. They earn money every month. They pay rent or a mortgage. They buy food, fuel, electricity. Sometimes expenses are higher than income. So what do? They use a credit card, take a loan. They promise to pay it back later. Now here's the key idea. Countries work the same way. Governments have income mainly from taxes, but their expenses are huge. Hospitals, schools, roads, military, pensions, welfare, emergencies, wars, recessions, pandemics, and most of the time, tax money is not enough. So governments do what families do. They borrow. But instead of borrowing from a bank down the street, they borrow in a different way. Let's break it down. When a country like the United States or the UK needs money, it doesn't usually walk into another country and ask for cash. Instead, it creates something called government bonds. Here's how it works in real life. The government says, "Hey, we need money today. If you lend it to us, we promise to pay you back later with interest." Who buys these bonds? Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, investment funds, foreign governments, and sometimes regular people. If you have your retirement fund, maybe lending money to your own government. So when people say the government is in debt, what they really mean is the government owes money to investors. Now here's where it gets interesting. A big chunk of a country's debt is actually owed to its own people and institutions. For example, the US government owes money to US pension funds, US banks, US citizens, and yes, also foreign countries like Japan and China. Same with the UK. It borrows from British pension funds, British financial institutions, and international investors. So it's not one giant villain controlling everything. Whoa, it's a massive web of promises. Now you might ask, if debt is so bad, why don't governments just stop borrowing? Good question. Let's go back to real life. Imagine the government suddenly says, "We're cutting spending." It means less money for hospitals, fewer teachers, delayed infrastructure, reduced benefits, job losses. The economy slows down. People lose income. Businesses suffer. Ironically, tax revenue drops even more. So governments often choose the less painful option. Borrow now, deal with it later, especially during crises. Think about 2008. Think about COVID. Without borrowing, many economies would have collapsed completely. Now comes the most confusing part for most people. Why does debt keep growing forever? Because governments rarely pay off the debt fully. Instead, they do something called rolling the debt. They borrow new money to pay old loans, just like someone using one credit card to pay another. As long as the economy keeps growing, people trust the government. Inflation doesn't spiral out of control. This system keeps running. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Debt is not free. Eventually, someone pays. Through taxes, inflation, your money buys less, spending cuts, or slower economic growth. You may not see a bill in your mailbox labeled national debt, but you feel it when prices go up, rent increases, healthcare becomes expensive, public services decline. So who really pays the price? Ordinary people, workers, sayers, middle-class families. Now let's address the biggest myth. People often say, countries are drowning in debt, so collapse is coming. That's not always true. Debt itself isn't the enemy. Uncontrolled debt is. If a country borrows to build infrastructure, invest in productivity, improve education, grow its economy, debt can actually be useful. But if borrowing is used to patch bad decisions, win elections, delay hard choices, then debt becomes a silent problem. Growing in the background, here's the real takeaway. The system runs on trust. Trust that governments will manage money responsibly. Trust that economies will keep growing. Trust that future generations will handle today's promises. And that's why understanding this matters. Because when you understand how national debt works, you stop believing simple headlines. You question political promises. You make smarter financial decisions. And you realize something powerful. You don't need to panic, but you do need to be informed. Because money rules don't change overnight. They change quietly, while most people aren't paying attention. If this video helped you understand something that school never taught you, hit the like button. It helps more people see this. Subscribe if you want simple, honest explanations about money, power, and the hidden systems that affect your life. And comment below. Do you think national debt is a necessary tool or a dangerous trap? Your answer might surprise you.